Joining us here after hanging out an insane amount of time together in Green Bay is my buddy who's moved the Sticks pod, is must listen to and must see, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network here on the program. Good to see you, DJ.
Go.
How are you?
It's good to see you, buddy. I think the Razor's in retirement for a few weeks here, so excuse this.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
You could still pitch for the Yankees. It's fine.
At least another week.
So let's jump into it. We're now a couple days removed. Your lasting impression of the draft is what? What is it?
I think you might even have coined the phrase when we were kind of in the run up to this thing, was like, we have had no trades. Everybody holds their own first round pick. And is this kind of the calm before the storm? And, man, it happens so fast. It's hard with as many people that are focused on this event and as many people are in buildings that you could have a trade, which sounds like the trade with Jacksonville had been done for like a couple weeks. So for that to not get out was pretty remarkable. And then that kind of just set us off. And it was kind of like that little jolt of caffeine we needed just to kind of get going there.
Okay. So which team's draft, now that you're a couple days removed and the dust has settled, do you like? Which one?
Well, I always look at it and try and see like which quarterback would wake up and be the happiest, after the draft. And we talked about it on the air. To me, Drake May, based off of what he played with last year and what he's going to get to play with this next season in terms of all the upgrades. And it started with Will Campbell in a position they had to address at left tackle. He's going to be a big upgrade over what they were playing with last year. You go out and get a running back. You go out and get a receiver. Like they did a lot of things I think that'll really help him. I mean, Travion Henderson not only catching the ball out of the backfield, but we discussed it, his ability in pass protection. You got a leaky offensive line. He can clean up a lot of those messes. So I love those guys on the offensive side of the ball. Jared Wilson, the most athletic center in the draft. And then you just go through all these names. I mean, Craig Woodson, to me, is a starting caliber safety they got in the 4th round. Joshua Farmer had some injury concerns. That's why he was at one point in time in my top 50, and they got him at pick 137. So Swenson can rush. Like I went through all their guys, and I'm like, man, they a lot of these guys, we're going to look back 3 years from now and we go, oh my gosh, they got 4 or 5 key players on that team as they try and turn it around New England.
Man, you're that high on it, huh? I know you were talking about it in real time, but
I loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
And they also got 11 guys. Obviously, not everyone makes it, but if you are taking over a team that has a lot of holes, that's one way to start plugging it. That's
No
for
question.
sure.
Yeah, it's exciting. And this is, I'm excited to kind of take a step back over the next week and really dig into it and study it. But last year, Rich, we spent so much time talking about those 6 quarterbacks, and man, what was done in this offseason with free agency and the draft, and you got to feel pressure if you're those GMs of knowing this is this window, man. We got a really talented quarterback that we don't pay a lot of money. Like, let's load up as fast as we can and see how fast and how quickly we can get this thing up and running. The Bears had a great draft as well. I love what they did to continue to just throw a ton of weapons around Caleb. So I'm excited. I was excited about those quarterbacks last year, and now I'm even more excited about them this year because they all got some key pieces to help them out.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. You just said that you look at a draft saying which quarterback is happiest, meaning which current already in the NFL quarterback is happy. Which quarterback that got drafted do you think is happiest? Is it Cam Ward when it comes down to it?
I think so, because I think Cam Ward's probably the one guy who's walking into a starting quarterback position. I think the rest of these guys are going to have to wait their turn, and we'll see how it all turns out for them. But I'll give you 2 names. I would say Cam Ward at the very front end, and then I would even say Will Howard, going in the 6th round, I believe, is where he ended up going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, that's a good opportunity for him, and we'll see what happens if Aaron Rodgers comes on board or what have you with that whole situation, whether it's Mason Rudolph or if it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you would say either one of those is going to be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2-3 years from now. So there's tremendous opportunity for him. And also it's kind of a hometown team. So I know he's probably disappointed he didn't go much higher than that, but I mean, that would have been the team I would have chosen for him in terms of where he fit best.
So let's linger on Cam Ward a little bit, because as soon as he got drafted, as you know, we were all looking at each other because he's walking down the hallway out of the green room to the stage, and we all got the message in our ears, Jacksonville's now on the clock. So, our conversation about Cam Ward was maybe shorter than what it ordinarily would have been if there wasn't a massive trade for a massively talented, much talked about player in the draft being acquired at the time. You look at what Tennessee has put together, right, and already has there, and adding Tyler Lockett and adding more pieces in the draft and doing what they've done. What's the expectation level? Level set it for me for Cam Ward and Tennessee. DJ?
Well, first of all, Rich, we talked about him for 10 minutes before the pick because there was no mystery in who was going to be the pick. So,
Correct.
I mean, we went through and showed his highlights. I remember us, Charles and I having the discussion about Steve McNair and some of the skills that he had that were reminiscent of the great former quarterback of the Titans. So I feel like we had a good chat on him. Now we had to pivot once that trade went in, but I like the fact that they've tried to make this a little more friendly with some of the veteran offensive linemen that they added. Now, I think they might have overpaid a little bit on Dan Moore, but it was an upgrade. They got better there, and then Zeitler comes in there, so that's a big, strong, sturdy guy that you can plug in. And then now you go into the draft and give him some other pieces to help him out. I think he's ready to go, Rich. I think you can get him on the field week one. I think he makes them competitive. I still think the roster is a little bit leaky and there's a lot more homework to do there. But one of the things I learned about him in talking to the folks at Miami was he is one of those guys who's never had a bad day. When they could lose 3 games in a row next year in Tennessee, they said he'll be smiling in the building. He'll be able to lift everybody up. One of the other nuggets was like every time their team turned the ball over, I think it was 13 times. Right after that, they had 7 touchdowns on the next drive and 3 field goals. So just a little microcosm example of somebody who's equipped to handle adversity. And you don't go from incarnate word to the first overall pick without being able to overcome some obstacles. So I'm excited for him. I wouldn't expect that this is a team that's going to be over 500 or be a playoff team this next year because of some of the roster limitations. But I think when you watch those matchups inside that division, talent-wise, he's going to be able to go throw for throw with C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence, all those guys.
Before I go grab bag on you, the number I'll have you call your shot here, and I'll give you the same out I gave Breer yesterday when I asked him. If you're right, we'll mention it. If you're wrong, this conversation never happened.
Flush it. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
we'll flush it.
It's my favorite type of conversation here.
We'll bury the tape. So the number of rookie quarterbacks from this class who will start in the upcoming season. Give me that number. Looking at the screen here, of all the drafted quarterbacks from Cam down to Ewers, what do you think?
Yep, I'm going to say we get Cam is going to start, so there's one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Tyler Shuck's going to start some games. That'll be 2. Which, by the way, almost kind of like even slips my mind about the Tyler Shuck one and the opportunity that he walked into. So he'll start some games. So that gives you 2. I'll say Milroe no, Dylan Gabriel no. I'll say Shedeur is a maybe as you go all the way down through there. So I'm going to put it at 2.5.
2.5. And that's the line. Do you take the under?
I'll take the over because weird things happen. One of these teams is going to get wiped out with injuries, and you're going to see one of these random guys start. It happens every year.
Well, so you choose Shedeur over Dylan as the possible for Cleveland. Yeah. So how do you see Shedeur going from here? What's your sense of that scenario, Daniel?
Yeah, I think it's all in front of him. I mean, we kind of laid it out on the coverage where it makes a lot of sense. For Joe Flacco and his experience level, he doesn't need a ton of work here in these mini camps. And so to me, I think you give a lot of opportunity to the young guys, those 3 guys, Kenny Pickett included, and then just kind of see who emerges out of that pile. It would be hard for me to say that I expect that Gabriel's going to, outperform Shedeur just because I had such a higher grade on Shedeur than I did on Gabriel. I know Gabriel's going to compete his butt off and he's going to know everything inside and out. He's going to be ready to go. But I think throw for throw, I think Shedeur, should win that battle. But he's got to come in ready to go and ready to compete. To see what happens there. I think to me that you've got 2 of those 3 guys make the team between Pickett then you get the two rookies, Gabriel and Shedeur. I think those three guys are competing for two spots, in my opinion.
So, and that's the first item up for bids on this sort of omnibus round of asking you, Daniel Jeremiah, now that we're a couple days removed from the draft and you've been talking to your colleagues in the NFL and the scouting world, general managers, coaches, and things of that nature, what generally people are saying about the draft that you're willing to share. What is the thought as to why Shedeur dropped to 144th overall, Daniel?
Well, this is partly my opinion, and then combined with talking to some other people.
Sure.
And this was the takeaway that I had, Rich. There's a reason why you have agents, and there's a reason why people go to these facilities and prepare for the combine. They're not just going there to prepare to put their hand down and properly run a 3-cone drill. They're preparing them for how to present themselves in front of teams and how to, handle these situations. And it just sounds to me, and talking to people, that process wasn't handled well on Shedeur's part. So that to me would have been an easy fix if you had hired an agent who would maybe just guide him through that process a little bit better. So, there was, and I haven't confirmed this, but there was people saying that, he was locked in on those teams picking in the top 7 and wasn't giving as much time or attention to some of those other teams through the process. So they didn't have as full of a workup on him as they would have liked to feel comfortable with him. So those are some of the takeaways there. But I think at the end of the day, I had talked to a lot of people around the league that it was like, okay, and these weren't decision makers. These were people inside personnel departments that were a little bit below that level, that were kind of baffled of like, golly, that's enough's enough. Like, how is he still there? At some point in time, I don't care what if you turned you off or what have you, but the ability level is so much greater than the people that, we're picking from right now. How is he not going? So that was kind of wrapped up into one big ball there.
What's the industry take on the first trade of the draft? The Browns trading out of the Travis Hunter spot to collect a pick next year, and others in Green Bay, while Jacksonville being aggressive to get the Ohtani, to use even an Andrew Berry analogy, in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, well, first of all, everybody said Andrew should not have used that analogy if you weren't going to pick the player. That was the first bit of news.
Okay.
But I can tell you this, all the Cleveland Browns fans in my life and in your life, they did not love it. And I would say almost universally everybody in the NFL did love it from the Browns standpoint in terms of they were able to recoup. Everybody in the NFL thought that they did the right thing and they got the value that they needed for that pick. And they all love him as a player. They love Hunter as a player, but thought that was a haul that you have a hard time turning down, that they thought that Jacksonville overpaid. That's inside the league. That was the opinion.
Because Jacksonville's 4th-round pick improved by 20-some-odd spots, and the 6th-round pick improved as well. And if you cough up a 1 and a 2 and you get the top receiver and the top corner in the draft, you might not have gotten the top receiver or top corner in the draft, the second round pick. I know next year's first is next year's first, but there's also a halo effect of this kid, right?
I would say, though, Rich, there is, and we'll see how this all happens, but I have not talked to one person, not one, that believes that Travis Hunter will be able to play every snap on offense and defense at the pro level like he did at the college level. There is not a belief that he'll be able to do that. So that's why it was a major minor situation. He's going to major on offense and then sprinkle in on defense. So I am so fascinated by this because we've never seen it. So we're going to find out, is that truly possible? But I can tell you there is a great appreciation for his talent as a player, and I could not find one person, Rich, and I'm talking 15 to 20 people that I've talked to that believe he will be a full-time two-way player in the NFL.
Man, there's going to be a lot of egg on people's faces.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm fascinated to watch it.
Wow. But in terms of the Cleveland draft, I was saying this yesterday, that if you hermetically sealed a Browns fan at 6 Eastern Thursday, and then let them out of that room at 6 Eastern on Saturday and handed them a piece of paper of just the names of the people that they drafted, without the
in whatever order,
without any draft choice number next to their name, and say, these are the 7 people the Browns got. Oh, and they got a 1 next year. I think Browns fans would be ecstatic, right?
Those first 4 picks are 4 starters, in my opinion. Mason Graham, Schlesinger. You can make a case Mason Graham as the best defensive tackle in the draft. Schlesinger, to me, is in that mix as the top linebacker. He was second for me. Quinshad Judkins, I don't think it would surprise anybody if he ended up being the best running back in this class. He's in that group of 4 guys who are very equally graded. Fannin could end up being one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in this draft, who's, definitely a starter. And then you're like, okay, Dylan Sampson's going to have a role. He's going to touch the ball. He was up there for me. I think I had him in the early 3rd round or even late 2nd round range. So they got him in the 4th round. And if Gabriel or Shedeur end up starting or giving you snaps at quarterback, we're talking about an epic haul. And they've got an extra 1st round pick next year on top of that. So yeah, that's why the people inside the league, they liked what Cleveland did.
And lastly, about asking what people around the league are talking about, Daniel, let's talk about the prank call. Because I know it's a lose for everybody, right? The fact that it happened, the fact that we found out who did it, and how they got the phone number. I've never met Jeff Ulbrich, but he's highly respected and well liked in this league, and it's just a disaster on every front. And I'm wondering what you heard and what people are saying about it. Daniel Jeremiah, I give you the floor.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if these were all with him, with Coach Ulbricht's son, but I mean, I was told about a couple other, Tyler Warren happened to him. I was told McCord. I was also told it happened to Riley Leonard. So it wasn't just a one-off. But again, I don't know where these calls, if they were all from the same situation, right, Rich. But in talking to people, I've heard there were other guys that had to deal with this nonsense. It's just, I don't know. The whole thing's it's just gross.
Well, what's the fix? What's the fix, DJ? Because there's got to be one, right?
Here's the fix. Like, to me, because I know they had released something and said that Coach Ulbrich wouldn't be punished. And in my opinion, I don't think it should be Coach Ulbrich that should be punished. I think the Atlanta Falcons should be punished, and that creates a whole accountability over the entire organization of, hey, we have to keep these information, these phone numbers under better control, and let's send the message to an entire organization, because it all trickled through that organization, funneled through one coach's son. But to me, I would send a message that way and say, if anybody from an organization has an issue like this, the entire organization is going to be punished. It's like when you're a kid, Rich, and the one kid's late to practice and you put the whole team on the line to run. And then that creates more awareness and more accountability within the entire group. That's what I would do.
Well, Kara Henderson Sneed, who I know, she's got brilliant ideas on everything. I say this over and over and over again. She tweeted out FaceTime.
That's a great call.
FaceTime. Now, there might be issues of hearing, right? When you FaceTime somebody and you don't have the pods in and there's draft rooms are loud or whatever, but at least you see, that's Dan Campbell. That is Mickey Loomis. You know what I mean?
That's an easy solve.
Right?
I never even thought about that. It makes a ton of sense. 100%.
Gosh,
that doesn't look like Jerry Jones.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, that would be a way to handle all of it, that unless you get a FaceTime, it's just not real. That's one way to say it. But I understand you're saying, that you got to hold someone accountable, and how would the Falcons know that the coach leaves an iPad in his own house? It's his own house. Yeah. That's the thing that's so, mind blowing. And I'm sure for Ulbrich, just gutting. You know what I mean? That it involves his son, right?
Yeah.
And
everybody's been young and dumb and done something stupid. So that's why, to me, it's just whatever you have to do to just get this message out to everybody, and let's not let something like this happen again. And when anybody, you got to let everybody know that has any access to any of your information, this stuff can't happen. Look, Rich, I'll give you an example. My son in Ryland was with us all week long. He's 21 years old, and he helped us on the draft.
Sweet kid,
thank you. He's
You're
sitting
welcome.
off to the side, and he has the pick line, so he can hear the picks coming in way before you or I ever find out what's going on until they announce it. And so he's a good kid. He's a smart kid. But trust me, I went out of my way to tell him, hey, you cannot text anybody, call anybody, or let anybody know anything. You are non-communicado on that set because you have information that cannot go anywhere. And just to double down, I know he's smart enough to know that you can't do that, but
Right.
you also go out of your way to tell him like this can't happen because this information can't go anywhere. So it's just those conversations have to take place around the league, and maybe Kara's right. Let's just do the freaking FaceTime and not worry about it.
Before I let you go, I know this is kind of unfair, but whatever. There's 257 picks. The one that you say was the steal of the draft, Daniel Jeremiah. I need to know. You say this is the steal. It could be a first rounder. I'll tap dance a little longer for you to think about it. Could be second night. I'll give it to you. Day 3. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just, I'm looking at it. Just we said it at the time. I had Jahad Campbell fall into the Philadelphia Eagles in the 32nd pick. He was my 12th player. And it just continues to happen every year. They get a value in somebody that just kind of lands in their lap. And I think not only is he a good player, going to a great defense and he'll fit in there. Who is the one team that they're going to be battling for the next decade inside that division? It's Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, and he's like a Jaden Daniels type defender. Now, it didn't go great when he saw Jaden Daniels when he was at Alabama and LSU torched him, that year before. But I mean, that's going to be. I'm just fascinated to watch what these divisions are shaping up and what that battle is going to be, and watching one team try and build up players. The Washington goes out and gets offensive linemen because they know they got to block Philly. Mm-hmm. Philly goes out and gets these athletic second level defenders because they know they're going to have to chase Jaden Daniels around all the time. So that might be the rivalry more than any other in the NFL that I can't wait to watch over the next decade.
Yeah, and the Giants loaded up with Abdul Carter on that defensive line, so everyone's kind of, I mean, that was kind of a no-brainer. But people are looking at the way that the Chiefs just got beat. Let's just load up. Mm-hmm. The Bills got 5 defenders with their first 5 picks, and then Brandon Beane's going on, blowtorching the place when he shows up on the radio. I'm sure you heard that in Western New York.
I haven't. I missed that.
Yeah,
what did he do?
He got on and he told everybody because they, some Bills fans were.
They want a wideout.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So you know the beats. You just didn't know what happened. Brandon Beane got on the radio and he's just like, everyone, we scored the most points in the league last year, and everybody thought we wouldn't do that without Stephon Diggs. So we went on defense, and how can you argue with that sort of stuff? One would think he got testy. Check that one out. Okay. And then I guess while we're being completely unfair, my last one for you, and we'll bury it if you're wrong. Yeah. The number 1 overall pick in the 2026 draft. First name we hear in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I just asked that. I think this is a new tradition. I'm going to ask you this on our post-draft debrief every year on this show. Take your best shot. Man. The number 1 overall pick in Pittsburgh, the first name we hear is going to be who? DJ.
Oh, this is going to be the best cop-out ever. I'm going to say Jeremiah Smith challenges the eligibility rules and comes right out, and then he's the first overall pick.
And it's a wideout. It's a wide receiver. He goes the old
Maurice Clarett.
route. Yeah. Hey, there's precedence with the Ohio State. No,
I wish everybody could just get together and just be like, hey, I know we have rules, we have precedent, but this guy's too good for college football. Like, what are we doing? Just let him go play. He's ready. Just let that guy go play in the NFL already.
Daniel, appreciate the 2 cents. I'll take the cop out. I'll let you go. And I man, you're awesome. Love hanging with you. We had a great week, and everyone at NFL Network. It's just an awesome team, right? Like front to back, truck to set, everything. We're so lucky. We are lucky.
Well, I'm very grateful for you. And last thing, because I was just talking about my son earlier, and he getting the chance to hang out with us not only when we're doing the shows, but then in the evenings when we go up and we all hang out together and talk. Yeah. And he goes, Dad, what you guys do with you and Rich and Charles and Joel is like just what me and my buddies do in college, just sitting around talking about football. And I was like, you know what? That's like the greatest compliment that we could ever get for what we do.
It sure is, especially since it youngs us up by 3 decades, all of us. And I'll take it. I'll take it. Thanks, DJ. You're the best.
Thanks, buddy.
You got it. That's buddy. Daniel Jeremiah. Everybody check out Move the Sticks pod, obviously, after the draft, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show live, weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.